Good evening, folks, and welcome to another Behind the Curtain Interviews with Excellence. We're getting a lot of these under the belt, aren't we? Wow. Who did we have first? We had John first, and we had Persona, and we've had Hybrid, and we're keeping this going. We're keeping this gravy train going with another absolutely fantastic guest. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to sit down and interview this man, my very good friend. He is the smooth talker with the Deerstalker. He is the tea-loving maniac himself, and the man with, oh my God, have you heard his voice? Mwah! Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, it is Taylor. Good evening, Taylor.
Good evening, DJ Brev. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm doing really, really well today. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrified. Nah, I'm not really.
Yes, that's just how I like them. So we do have quite a few people watching us right now. The very first person, though, is that there she is. Evening, gents. I know you've got a soft spot there for Ruby. Oh my God, that's a surprise to see. Evening, Taylor. Would you consider me as? Oh God, hybrid? No, hybrid? No,
Why
hybrid?
not?
No.
Why not?
So we're here to talk about you, and I've got a lot of questions here, a lot. But before we ask those questions and get those answers, I'm going to give you a minute or so. Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience before we deep dive into your life?
So no questions off the table. I believe in transparency and truthfulness. I'll be as honest and as safely possible. If you have a question or you're curious about something, pop it in the comments. Nothing's off the table. As I say, buckle in. Let's go for it.
Buckle in. I love that quote. Hello from me and Grace, says Kobe. Hi,
Hello.
Kobe. Hi, Grace. Hope you're doing. John Chaplow. Nice to see you, John. I hope you're doing all right. Hi, Taylor.
Legend.
So, Taylor, you are in the hot seat. I have the questions. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
I love it. Can you please take us back to the moment you decided that you wanted to be a part of wrestling?
Well, I think like most wrestling fans, I think you always watch the WWE or WWF as it was at the time, and ECW, and you watch and you think, I'd love to do something like that. And to be fair, it's a dream, isn't it? It's a far off dream. That's it's never ever going to come of anything really. And there was one day, and it was by total accident. I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I stumbled across a grainy video filmed by a river, and it was Dustin Hart stood in to his knees in the river, cutting a promo about an upcoming match. Well, actually, I'm saying match. There was no matches at the time because it was lockdown time, so it was around about that sort of era. And I was watching it, and so I followed the page anyway, College Championship Wrestling as it was called at the time, and it captivated us because I seen all of these what I'd call normal people who have trained to be wrestlers, the likes of Liam Belshaw, Dustin Hart. You had Spike Braxton with a wrestler called Paul. Ulfric Winterwolf. A lot of Mad Max Cooper. And I was watching these normal guys promoting wrestling. Obviously, James Barrow's been in charge of CCW. And I was like, wow, these normal people can do this. So anyway, I used to chirp along. They used to do the online content then was very good. And they were always putting lives out. And I used to go on as a fan, a bit like, Mr. OK. I used to come on the comments and you don't know Mr. OK is, he's just an idiot. But I used to go on and I would type in the comments. I was a bit of a keyboard warrior, And then they were doing a live, and Mad Max Cooper used to have a catchphrase where you'd say you would choke people out. And I went on the live. Davey Dudes was there, I believe, as well on the live Dudes Mania. And I did, I'm going to choke you out. Well, everyone thought it was hilarious. And then I made contact with James. I just said, listen, I'd love to, to be involved with this somehow. And it just went from there, really. And I guess what was a random find on Facebook, which normally they're not very good random finds on Facebook. But yeah, here I am.
Wow.
That's the tale, basically.
You mentioned training before, and I know you've been in that ring because my first experience with that company was you were in the ring, you were in a rumble that night. But I want to know what your wrestling training was like, who trained you, and what you think the most challenging part of the training process was.
So obviously, it was at the time. It was training was run by Lee Hartley, which is Dustin Hart, Ulfric Winterwolf, which is a guy called Simon, and Jamie, who is Ronnie Thatcher and Don Bronson in Dropkick Wrestling. They ran the training sessions, so we did everything, from your bumps to your rolls. And for a big guy, some of the rolls and flips I was doing back then, people were quite, well, that's quite good. I mean, as a fat lad, I was quite impressed. The struggles for me really was finding time. Physically, you can only do what you can do, and I think they were very sort of respectful, as all trainers should be, of your physical capabilities. I mean, the training session had a host of, and this is why when I use the term normal people, I don't mean that as a slur on them. I mean it as in your everyday person who has a job, who goes to work, or who has families, and then on a Saturday or a Sunday they'll train or wrestle. That's what I mean by normal people. And the class was very much that. Everyone had different skills and abilities. And one of my favorite parts of training, actually, just to go off on a tangent, was we were doing an exercise where you got partnered up and you had to sort of do holds and pins on the floor, and you had to hold them down for as long as you could. And there was various, I want to say, technical sort of holds, like arm bars and things like that. And I got partnered up with Walker of Wall Street, and I held him down. He didn't get up. And then also Logan as well, who was in Australia now. Logan Black, I was also partnered with him quite a bit as well, and we developed a good bond actually in training and laughing and carrying on. And but I mean, some of the things I've done in training, I didn't actually get the opportunity to do in the ring. I mean, I did practice a few times the what's that move called? This is where I'm going to sound like a right mark, where it's like a back body drop where they run towards you and you scoop them over your head. Is it a back body drop? Anyway, both I think adders, and then I move my shoulders and throw them over my head. So that's basically what it was. But yeah, that sort of thing, But training was good. I enjoyed it. It did wonders for me, not only my mental health but also my fitness as well.
Fantastic. Got quite a few comments coming in. I've met this gent, was a while ago. I was derp at the time. That's Phil. It means he was drunk. No, he wasn't drunk. Sorry, Phil doesn't drink. He was derp. It means he was
Phil with the nice voice.
Yes, Phil with the nice voice.
Yeah, he's a gentleman.
Evening DJB and my favorite rat.
Hey, there he is.
Hi, Brevs. Hi, Brev. I hope you're doing all right. Hi, Cars from downstairs.
Hello, Cars. Much love.
Tetley.
He's a little
Hybrid. My first experience with TLI and CCW was me burying a hot dog and him noticing me. Romantic. Wow.
I remember that, actually. It was his arms that caught my attention.
The back body drop.
Oh, yes. It is a back body.
So, who were your biggest inspirations when you first got into wrestling? Was there anyone you tailored yourself after?
Do you mean like independent wrestlers or in general?
Either.
Well, to be honest with you, I remember watching. So when I first got involved, I looked up a few local promotions to me up in the northeast, and I knew of these people prior because of sort of they were involved in the very, very early days, but with CCW, but then they didn't stay. There was likes of Ryan Rude, Liam Belshaw, a wrestler called Jay Glow. He was another one who I mean, I'll name these people because I watched a lot of what, I mean, Jay Glow especially, the way he moves around a ring is impossible, the way he does things. And I really respected all three of these individuals as sort of, what's the word? Experience, I guess. And I didn't craft myself on any of them because I'm not a wrestler. I wouldn't call myself a wrestler. I'm trained to a point where I can do what I need to do for a spot, or if I'm involved in a rumble like I have been. But growing up, it was always wrestlers like Big Boss Man, William Regal, Gangrel, Undertaker, Kane, Edge and Christian as well. I'd say the Dudley Boys, Rob Van Dam. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what he does. There's loads. Tommy Dreamer as well, another one. Yeah, I mean those sorts of wrestlers. I do like brawling. I like the brawling sort of like. That's why I think, despite us hating him at the time, Ronnie Thatcher as a gimmick and Don Bronson now as he is, I just love that style.
Hey, you're a Geordie. You love a fight, don't you? You love a good old tagger.
Yeah, man.
Way aye, man. So you've had a lot of moments inside of a wrestling ring, a lot. Can you recall some of the earlier moments that made you feel like, yep, this is the thing. I love doing this. I want to do this. I'm staying here. I'm staying in this position because I know you love ring announcing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've done a little bit of everything, to be honest. Which I think it puts us in a good position that I'm in now in life, because I've refereed terribly, I may add. I've ring announced. I've been in the ring. I think I couldn't capture one moment, but I think, well, I could. It was my second Rumble, I think. I think it was my second Rumble, and I was in there with the likes of Tommy Diamond, Walker, the Rarebit, fantastic wrestler. And I got down to the final two. And in that Rumble in particular, I had a great sort of in-match moment with Walker and Tommy Diamond. And then I got clotheslined, where I felt like I'd been hit by an express train from cross by Rarebit. And I remember lying on the mat, and I thought, and I could hear the crowd were shouting, Taylor, Taylor. And to be fair, by this point, I'd been in this business a little while now. And I was lay there thinking, yeah, I think I made some good choices here. And I definitely think I belong where I am, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. First viewer question coming in here. What's the move that you don't like being on the receiving end of?
Well, I haven't really been sort of in ring that much, Jimmy, to say I like this and I don't like that. But there's one move that does terrify us, and I've seen it done multiple times at ringside. I've seen it on TV, and it's that thing where they jump with both feet in the land on them. It's got a funny name. I think it sounds French. Coup de grace.
Yeah, the coup de grace, the one that Persona does.
Oh yes, it's horrible. Oh, it makes us shiver. Makes us want to be sick. I wouldn't want to take that move, that's for sure. It's been threatened to us a number of times, actually, by friends of mine. But no, that's one move I would never allow anyone to do.
How's your personality evolved over the years? Would you say that you're a different person in terms of I'm going to put it in a how can I put it in a polite way? Do you treat people any different now than you did back then? Like, or are you just the same old person?
I don't think I've changed. However, sometimes change is recognised by others more than it is by the person who changes. I don't think I have. I think I'm certainly more aware of what's good for things within wrestling, independent wrestling, what's not good for things. I think I'm more aware of that. I think the way I stand, and I might have been answering this question from a totally wrong angle, but the way I say it is, I'll not change as a person, but how you treat me as a person reflects how I treat you and how I change towards you. So if you treat me like a twat, basically, I'm a twat back. And I don't really discriminate, you know. If you're being in a clear-cut cunt, I'll call you out for it. It's simple as that. And likewise with myself, I would expect that back. I wouldn't be huffy if somebody said, "Oh, Taylor, you're a twat." I mean, I get called a twat daily. It's not really a problem. I don't really mind, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't have said so. I think the person that you're seeing now is the same person that walked in the door back then. But I could be wrong. People might think, "No, he was this when he was then, or he was that." I know a few people who might think I've changed.
Yeah.
Certainly, people who I've worked with recently may think, oh, he's changed his tune on a number of things, but I think you're allowed to change your mind. I think that's one thing that I would stress that you have to get to grips with life. It's okay to change your mind on something you once thought, and it's okay to change direction. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means change is for you.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment where you looked and you doubted yourself? And if so, how did you personally pull through it?
I'll be honest, despite the person that you all may know, I doubt myself daily anyway. I often struggle with, is that good enough? Is that a good idea? Will people like this? Have I done that right? Have I said? I do struggle with that quite daily. In terms of wrestling as well, I think it would be easy to say that ring announcing was one of those things. So I'm not ring announcing. I don't know if you get trained to do it these days or what happens, but I kind of got into it by total accident. And I remember the first show I had loads of technical glitches, which into show two, I was doubtful that I would even do it. But there was a point where I was doubtful I would ever be back involved with this business again. I don't know if that's probably the same sort of thing. Obviously, my personal life's been a bit roller coasterish. There was doubts whether I would continue to do it. And obviously, the sort of ongoings within the wrestling world of politics pushes you to a point where I'm doubtful I can do this anymore because I can't take the shit it brings, to put it bluntly to you. So, yeah, I guess there has been many occasions.
I, I get it. I get it. But you've done a lot of stuff in the wrestling industry there, well, up in the Northeast you have. But I think everybody knows you more famously, more notably for being the general manager of Coming Out Championship Wrestling. Absolutely amazing. Every time I went to a Pride show, you were more than just an on-screen general manager as well. You put a lot, so much hard work. You really ran things, and I'm wondering how did you juggle those responsibilities? Because there was I don't know personally how much you did, and I've never asked before, but how the hell did you do it?
It was difficult. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to be that intense. And to be honest with you, I think the offering of the role was after I'd left. It was to bring us back almost. So at the time, it was a bit bittersweet for me, and I thought, oh well, I'm only being offered this because I had left because of creative problems at that time within the company, and I'd left. I think I'd only been gone a couple of days, and anyway, I knew I had to come back. There was people who had so many things going on that I wanted to be part of, the wrestlers and stuff, and then I wasn't long back, and I was offered that, and I think it was always going to be. I didn't think it was going to be a promotion role. I thought it was going to be an on-screen role, but when I was advised that it's yours, I struggled to ring announce, work, family, and that at the same time. But I think it's just about being organised, and I do strive myself in being an unorganised person. Like I must have on my computer here in front of us, I must have about 13 different spreadsheets with show information on that I'm constantly tweaking and editing, and I've got a talent list and all this list, and I've got a list for everything. You name a list, and I've probably got it. So I think being organised helps you to cope with that. Also, asking people's advice and for help. I think it's always good to have people you can rely on. And I'm very fortunate, both now and then, to have had people who I can lean on and ask for advice, and I can get, and I use a very recent example of a promoter for PCW, Stephen, I think he's called Stephen Flood, he's called, and he's been an absolute diamond of information for me, and he's helped us with a lot of things. In fact, the name Wrestling with Pride was a conversation between me and him that brought that along. And I was very grateful for his advice. So I think to balance it all, you have to be able to ask for help, and you have to be able to take help. You can't be a one-man machine because you'll ground yourself into the ground and it'll affect your personal life. And it did a few times, man. I'll be honest, it did. After the first show I did, I was very nearly ready to wrap it in. It was a very, very tough. It was a good show. I think I blew the roof off, as did the talent, and the team behind us was amazing. But at that time, it was just so draining. But then, as every show went on, it got busy, it got easier and easier.
What do you think was the most rewarding part of being the general manager, running everything behind a Pride and LGBTQ themed wrestling promotion? Because I think that was the first time I'd ever even heard of one. I might be out of the loop on these things, but I'd never heard of a Pride themed wrestling promotion until this.
So it's interesting because at the beginning, I didn't think it was ever going to work. Because I was under the mindset at that point of being, Pride Month is when these shows would be popular and no other time but then. But then as I sort of got into things and I started especially networking and speaking with the people that I brought in the door, it became quite apparent that this was actually something very, very special. And at that point, I think I almost got carried away with it kind of hit the ground running, because for me, being gay, I think it was important to have a platform for everybody to be part of that was their platform. I think that was what was important. What was the question again? Sorry, just repeat.
What do you think was the most rewarding part of it?
So the most rewarding part of it for me was giving, especially the new talent that I brought in, giving them that platform. Not only to be a once-a-year booking, and not that I'm saying they only get booked once a year, they get booked all year, but their bookings are popular in the Pride season, and I thought I wanted to change that. I'm actually really proud of what I did there with that, because I think I brought a lot of new people into the fold, and I also took CCW, Coming Out Championship Wrestling. I took that to a festival, twice.
Loved it.
So that all of that was rewarding, and to sit and watch the footage back and see a crowd who probably had never really attended anything like that before interact with a show that I had written and planned and produced, and then said to the team, "There we go, go out there and do what you do." And I say that at every show. My part as a promoter, as a general manager, is done. It's now over to you. When that bell goes, it's your time. And I think that's the part for me, that's the most rewarding of it all.
Nice. Well, we're going to really go behind the curtain here, because we've got another fan question from Phil. On your shows, how do you work out the finishes on your card? Do you try to limit certain things for bigger matches?
I try. Well, there's a lot of sort of changes happen with that, because
subject to change.
Yeah, well, your first thought of a result, that is sometimes the most obvious. Now, I've always been quite creative with my matches, and I've always been quite creative with how they're going to go. And I don't do this anymore. I used to tell nobody nothing, and not even the talent knew till the day. And it has its advantages, but then I found it had more of its more disadvantages. So I work out the finishes on the card based on effort, what I've seen them do already for that promotion. If it's a first time booking, it's generally, so I can get to watch them do what they do. By the second or the third show, everything but that leads up to that allows us to make that decision. So if somebody isn't pulling their weight, they aren't doing what they need to do online, or they're not doing promos, or they're not actively supporting the show, the chances are that plays a part in my decision making. But then on the flip side of that, I look at the story and I look at what I can build on, because nobody wants to go to see a wrestling show and see the same two people wrestle every single show. They're going to get the same result with a different person winning. So I like to look at long-time storytelling, and I learned that from CCW, because their storytelling was by far one of the best I've seen. It's one thing I'll never take away from them. that storytelling was brilliant. And I don't want to copy that because ultimately I want it to be new and fresh. I know there's only so much you can do and claim your own. So I do limit a lot of things on the card. I certainly think the limitation of weapons is one of the things I'm keen to limit to make a big impact. Because if there's a chair in every match or a ladder in every match, soon it becomes boring. And I also think match types have been a big thing for me. So I've developed a few random like other matches. So I had the Golden Guardian match where the Golden Guardian was on the stage. Two wrestlers, I think it was Pride and Simon G. Money. They were wrestling, and the rules were if you eliminated your opponent, the Golden Guardian got in. You had to defeat him. If you didn't defeat him, then the other person got back into the match. And then the winner had to pin the Golden Guardian. Ultimately, that's how it went. I then had the Rainbow Smoke on a pole match where you had to put a flare on the post and it would send purple smoke in the air.
I remember that one.
So I do think that you have to be creative in your match types. And I don't mean crazy match types like climb four ladders and put them under a table. It has to be part of the story. So if a particular wrestler is, I don't know, a vampire and comes out of a coffin, the trademark match would be a coffin match. So I would limit things for that as well. Yeah. I think I went way off topic with that.
Zoe saying, you Zoe. Jacob James Kirby, good evening. I hope you're doing right. We love the Pride Festival weekend show. Says Zoe, it's amazing. It's such a laugh, so fun.
Loved it.
Evening, Brevs and Brevettes. Been busy, so watching from the beginning. Hope it's a good one. And Phil, again, I was at coming out show. Yes, you were. I remember a group picture. We took in the background, just in the background. You see Phil leaning.
Yeah, right. It was there.
Back on track to the questions. What's something that fans might not know or might not realize about how much work actually goes into running a show behind the scenes?
What they don't know about it. It's extremely stressful. Show day is my worst day. I'm not going to lie. It literally is. You don't sleep the day before. You're worried that you're not going to make enough ticket sales. You're worried about have you gave the talent the right platform? Have you gave them the right match? Have you made the right decision? Have you arranged a title match the right way? Does everybody get what you're trying to put across to them? Does your story make sense? Sometimes it doesn't, and I think sometimes in wrestling, the only people that get it are the people inside. Nobody has a clue what's going on. So it is massive. It's a massive pressure on. But I do think the line between being a fan and partaking in a show has to be solid. And my experience of fans in previous places like CCW have been they cross the line too often and they become something involved. Now, don't get us wrong, that's hypocritical as I started as a fan. But what I mean is at the shows themselves, you have to know that you are a fan and that if you know everything, it's not going to be fun and entertaining. So if I was to go any further into that, I'll be ruining the role as a fan. And they're very important. I've said it every show. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. So what fans need to understand is it's extremely stressful. I have hardly any hair as it is. It makes us drink umpteen cups of tea the day before a show. So on show day, just sit down and enjoy yourself. That's all you need to know.
Did being the general manager of Coming Out Championship Wrestling help prepare you for launching your own promotion?
Oh, absolutely. To be honest with you, I have been a manager before. I've managed over 120 people. So I have managed people. However, this is a completely different ballgame in terms of wrestlers are and can be quite difficult. However, apart from the odd one fact two. I think I've got a really good bunch that I brought in, and the people that have joined me at coming out have followed me to this, and I'm eternally grateful to all of them. They are why I do this. Ultimately, what I would say is,
Used to manage me, says Tywood.
yeah, that's very true. Before you betrayed them.
Genius.
Oh, there he is, the old genius. So it absolutely set us up to where I want. Oh, for fuck's sake! It did. It did set us up because I also was working alongside and for somebody who is difficult. So James Barris is a nightmare. He's a blessing, and he knows what he's doing, but he can be a nightmare. And I used to, like, to be honest to him though, to be fair to him, he was never a problem with me in terms of coming out. It was 100%. Everything that you've seen was me. None of it was James. None of it was CCW. It was literally me. And I used to pass things to him and he'd say, yeah, go for it. I trust your judgment. So for that, I'm really grateful for the opportunity I was given, not only from the beginning of what I've done, but to this. It has set me up to be who I am. But I think ultimately I learned how not to promote and how to promote. And I also learned how not to treat people. And I also learned how you should treat people. And actually, those are two questions I should never ask myself, because I always treat people how they treat me. And I'm always respectful. So yeah, it has helped massively. Would I have been able to do it without that? I think so. But one thing I will say, that Wrestling with Pride is not a born of CCW. It wasn't born from Coming Out Championship Wrestling. It's here because I'm here. And it's here because the people that are behind me wanting this opportunity, it's the reason it is what it is. And I've heard this rumor a lot, it's still with CCW. It's not. It is absolutely categorically not. And I'll also put on record and say quite clearly, I don't care where you think it come from or the motivations for it. I'm here. Wrestling with Pride is here. Get the fuck over it. Basically.
I mean, that's a good answer to another question, yeah. Because I want you to tell us all about the moment you decided, right? That's it. Wrestling with Pride. I'm starting my own promotion. I'm going at this my way.
Well, it was on the lead up to that show that I left Coming Out Championship Wrestling with CCW, and I left CCW, and I have worked my absolute arse off to get people in the door. Gambit, Cora Moon, Craig Ryan, Riley V, Prince Pele, all of.
Oh,
There we go.
that's sweet.
In fact, that picture I sent you earlier? Put that up for us. I think that's the one that I've sent you one, I'm sure.
You sent me a picture. Yes, you sent me that picture there.
So all of those people and others that aren't in it, I looked at what they'd helped with coming out, and despite all of the criticisms that they have heard of what CCW is all about, I think it's because of them.
Yeah.
That it is. I knew I had to do something. Pride, for example, he was there from day one. All of them have supported me with Coming Out Championship Wrestling. So I looked and I thought, I'm not done with wrestling because of a negative experience. I'm going to turn that into a positive, and I'm going to do something for me and a community that I'm proud of. And I'm going to give them all a place to wrestle and entertain and be part of something that isn't just a once a year thing.
I love that. I've got a question that was sent in not long before we kicked off here. What type of role model do you see yourself as, if any? I know you're very humble,
Lead
so
by
I don't
example.
know. Fantastic.
I think if
Yeah,
you behave like a normal human being who isn't causing issues left, right, and centre, you shouldn't be in charge of anything. And
fair enough. Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I should not be a person that is, oh, him again. Oh, he's off again. I'm not that type of person at all. I'll steer away from confrontation if I have to. In fact, more times than not, I do stay away from confrontation. I'll call out what I say, and I'm always honest with people. If people ask me opinion or ask for an opinion, I'll give it. Sometimes I give it when it's not necessary and it gets people upset, but it's from a good place. And I think if there was anything I could do, it would be to lead by example.
Lovely. Next up, we've got what's your vision for wrestling with pride? And I suppose I can also put in another one of the fan questions that came in earlier. Is what is pride to you personally?
Well, I'll answer that one first. So pride to me is to be unapologetically yourself. And to me, it's a protest. And people will say, but it's just a carnival, it's just a festival. Pride doesn't have to be Mardi Gras every day. Pride doesn't have to be a parade through a city centre, waving banners and dressing up like people dress up. Pride and the protest will go on because, unfortunately, the world that we live in is currently changing again. And we went from a time where it was illegal to live as a gay, bisexual man or woman. Transgender was totally and utterly not a thing. It was shunned. Well, it's, as I'm going to go on to it, it's been treated the same way as it was in the draconian eras of this country and this world. And I think we're living in a time where people are able to have freedom of speech. People are allowed to give their opinion, and people are allowed to hurt your feelings. But the governments that are supposed to protect everybody's individuality and allow people to live equally and freely, whether it be in relation with the Human Rights Act or the European Convention of Human Rights, it doesn't matter. The governments of this world are taking a step back. And for our government to make categorically in law diminishing transgender rights tells me this protest is far from over. And I think wrestling with pride can drip feed being unapologetically yourself by the means of a wrestling show. I think that's how it plays its part. Because I'm proud of who I am, and I don't care what anybody thinks. And I remember watching an interview recently, and Miriam Margolyes is on about grammar, and she states that she was on tour somewhere and she was speaking to somebody who's trans, and she'd said the lady had said to Miriam, it doesn't matter whether it's grammar and if it's correct. If it makes somebody happy, just call them what they want to be called. Address them how they want to be addressed. If they want to be addressed a man, that's fine. If they want to be addressed a woman, that's fine. It's their choice, and it should be their choice.
That's true. 100%. 100%. But getting wrestling with pride going off of the ground to the point where you've got a show coming up, Bath and Baker. What's been the biggest challenge so far in getting that off the ground, getting it one like confirmed, show ready?
Finances. Can't lie to you. Until this evening, I had limited doubt on a few things. But getting wrestling with so the digital age is marvelous because you could start something today and it'd be popular by tomorrow and it'd be dead by the day after. That's how the digital age works. Being able to connect to people online, I think, makes things a lot easier. So obviously wrestling with pride online and on the face of it is good to go. Talent's ready, cards ready, venues ready, everything's sorted and ready to go. The only thing that isn't there, unfortunately, fully, is the ticket sales money. So that's the bit that you think it has to work on the night, otherwise it just fails, and you let everybody down, and you're like Hitler walking the earth again because you can't afford to pay anyone's wages. Probably an extreme example, but that's how my humour works. And it's true, and that's the bit that weighs on a promoter's shoulders. Is anybody going to turn up? People have bought tickets online. Are they going to? I mean, I know there's money in the bank for it, but are they going to fucking show up and make a noise? But I say to the talent, if there's 5 people out there or 500 people out there, the energy needs to be the same. Otherwise, nobody will come back. But finances is the biggest thing. Listen, I'm quite lucky that I started up, and the people who I'd networked and brought to other places have come with me, and they've took bookings and they want to be part of this. And a lot of those people, in fact, all of those people, have said to me on a number of occasions that this is so important to be part of because of it's not a one show a year Pride thing. It's a constant celebration of identity. And like I say, it doesn't always have to be Mardi Gras and banners and glitter and rainbows. It can be gritty. It can be,
That kind of leads into the next question. Because the next question is, how do you balance honouring Pride history during the show while also making the shows entertaining for everybody of any variety?
So I think a lot of marketing information needs to be correct, and I'll give you an example because I don't have it in front of us, unfortunately. But the last show I did, Rainbow Dropkicks, for no, it wasn't. It was Alive with Pride, beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So the show and poster and the name and stuff like that. Bearing in mind, we are wrestling in a social club in the middle of Biker. I remember after the show speaking to a few of the people who had poked their head in the door, and they took us. I said, "Just take a seat," and they watched the show. And there was people behind the bar who openly said we were really skeptical about a bunch of gays wrestling, and that was their exact terms. And I don't mean that; they didn't mean it disrespectfully, just how they are.
Yeah.
And he said, "But when I've worked behind this bar all night." He went, what an absolutely amazing night everyone's had. He went, and do you know what it is? He said, it's totally changed my view of it. And I think that's where marketing comes into it. So Wrestling with Pride's logo is quite unique because if you look at it, it sings gay pride. But if you look at the poster for the show, it doesn't speak that. But at the show, you will be entertained by LGBTQ plus wrestlers, and you'll also have guest speakers who are going to give you information that subconsciously doesn't apply to you as a fan in every circumstance. But it's important to have it there. And I think rather than throwing rainbows in everyone's face, it's about the trickle effect. It's about dropping the ideology slowly and not overkill for a new audience. That's what I think. That's how I'm going to do it anyway. And then after this year is done, and I have a catalogue under my belt of shows that have hopefully went well. Next year, aim for bigger places, and I'm going to apply to wrestle at the big Pride. Not me personally. We're going to arrange to perform at the Northern Pride in Newcastle City Centre.
I'd love that.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about, and I think that's where we need to be. But that's once a year, and in between that, we need to be doing our thing for our communities. So that's basically how I'm going to do it. I'm going to trickle feed the celebration of Pride. And it's funny, right? And I'm going to open a door on something here. I love how yeah, absolutely. And I've had people inbox me who have.
Oh God! It wasn't hybrid. It was Mr. OK.
Oh goodness gracious me, that idiot. And it's sort of, I've had people inbox me and just say, it's sort of a niche concept, and I know all wrestling has its sort of So for example, I'll use CCW as an example. The colliery history they had at the beginning, that's what it was all about. And it was a theme, that's it. There's the theme. And I
Yeah.
remember seeing avant-garde wrestling in Newcastle, and it was, very theatrical, and I really enjoyed that. So this is going to be no different to that. You're going to see wrestling. It's going to be sort of an event where you can enjoy and be part of it, and the issues that are trickle raised in that show might apply to you, and it might help you be yourself. And if I can achieve that and allow people to see that actually I can dress how I want and I can live and love who I want, then I think I'm saying as a team, I think we've accomplished that.
All right. I love that. I think this is amazing. Honestly, there's things I'm understanding that before tonight I didn't, and it's thanks to you. You're opening my eyes as well. But we are going to dive a little personal right now, Taylor. I hope you don't mind, because you are proudly and openly gay in a industry that, let's be honest, hasn't always been welcoming. Has it been? Would you say it's been a tougher journey than most?
No, I wouldn't have said so. Not for me.
Yep.
I mean, I have heard horror stories on some of the bigger
Yeah.
conventions, and I've heard stories from other parts of the world. But I can safely say that I have been treated with absolute nothing but respect based on who I am. Sometimes not my opinion, but the fact that I'm gay and I represent that now. I think more than anything else, I represent an element of that community that, some people meet me and say, "Are you sure you're gay?" But I don't think people understand that you don't actually have to be a certain way to be
Yeah.
gay.
Flamboyant.
I've always lived under the guise of it's a part of me, but it doesn't define me. Does that make sense? So I'm
Yeah.
gay doesn't define who I am as a person. In fact, as an onion has layers, like Shrek would say, there's loads of different ways I am as me, but the fact that I'm gay and proud of it, and I'm happy to support anyone who's going through that journey. But I'm still learning.
That kind of leads into the next question again. Have you seen my question sheet?
No.
Ha- what advice would you give to any younger LGBTQ wrestlers or promoters trying to find their place in wrestling?
I feel like I don't feel I can advise them on training as such and things like that. But what I would say to them is find some LGBTQ plus talent online. They are no doubt going to have links with a training school. I know, in fact, a lot of the people that I'm working with, Alexander Lockhart, Eddie Jade, Riley V, Sassy Bear, Clarence, Pride, they all train at big known places. So they have links to those areas to get into the business, and you're going to be somewhere safe. Don't just go to any old training school and hope for the best. In fact, no, I'll not tell that story. In fact, no, I will tell that story. There was somebody somebody came to a Caulfield's Pride show, and he attended a training session and then didn't go back. Now, whether it wasn't for him or whether it wasn't, he didn't feel comfortable, I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. The start of getting into this business has to be the right sort of environment to nurture and for you to become the best version of yourself within it. It doesn't matter whether you're being. In fact, I'll take away the whole LGBTQ thing, and I'd just say find a reputable school with a good sort of set of trainers who are going to give you the best start. The rest falls into place. But if you can link up with somebody online, in fact, the people I've just named would be happy to help. I know they would. If you were to drop a message in Eddie Jade's inbox on Instagram and say, I'm interested in becoming a wrestler, I love what you guys are doing and girls are doing and all those other persuasions at Wrestling with Pride. How do I start? I'm from this area. I'm sure they'll put you in the right direction. In fact, message me. and I'll
Yeah.
with promotion, Fritz training schools that I feel best for you. Just get in
All right.
touch. Come to the show. Buy a ticket. 17th of May.
So, who are a few wrestlers, either past or present, that you might idolize or look up to?
Mick Foley, Mankind.
Yes. Oh, fantastic.
I think.
Any particular reason?
Well, there's a few. Not the fact that he survived falling off a Hell in a Cell, but I think. Well, actually, I think it's because he wasn't your general at the time. There was a lot of big muscular guys, athletic
Yeah.
guys wrestling, and it was about the muscles and the frills on their arms and and all that. Whereas Mick Foley was like me. He was a podgy guy. He had some great ability in the ring, and I used to watch and think, actually, anyone could do it, and I don't mean that in a negative way. So he was one of them, and there's loads of people. I think I listed a few before. Bradshaw, Farouk, the APA, the New Age Outlaws. They were always good to watch. I like their style. I like costume, and I like a gimmick with a story. It's one
Yeah.
of the reasons that I got captured into this thing in the first place was by characters and costume and like Ulfric Winterwolf, the Viking. I mean, he's a miserable son of a bitch at times, and he'll tell you himself he's got no personal skills, but he's a lovely guy, and the whole Viking thing used to just tickle my pickle. It's a little bit like vampires as well, to be honest. I love Gangrel, and I love the vampire thing. So anything like that, that's what it was all about for me growing up. I never missed an episode of Raw.
Right. Well, I've got this fine question, and I was thinking about whether I should ask you it or not, but you know what? I know he's watching, so I'll ask you. Is Hybrid the sexiest man you have ever seen?
Oh, he's one of them, absolutely. He's definitely in the high 8s, 9s, and 10s. I remember he does have really nice arms, to be honest. I remember when I first seen his arms, he was eating a hot dog, and it was love at first sight.
As a promoter, what would be your dream match to book at Wrestling with Pride?
Technically, I did have this match booked.
Oh,
I lost to the people that I had it booked with because of people's conduct. We'll say. I'd love to book Adam Bolt versus Shea Monet.
I like Bolt. I'm a big fan of Bolt.
And to be honest with you, I want to go back on a few questions that you did ask. I want to go back to Shea Monet as a wrestler. He is probably one of those people I would ask you to contact if you were interested in getting involved in this business, because he has been extremely helpful with a lot of things that I've had not issues with, but I'll be honest, right? When it comes to booking dream matches for me, I'm very insecure. And I'll tell you why I'm insecure. Because I was with a promotion who everyone hated, and I couldn't book the people I wanted to book because every time I did book them, things would happen and I'd lose the bookings, which shatters your confidence. So when I'm dealing with the likes of Shea Monet, Jack Ripley, there's Adam Bolt, and I'd love to see Liam Slater as well wrestle at Wrestling with Pride. And I'll be honest, because of that, I'm very insecure. And so there's Jimmy Kumar. It was an absolute great potential booking. It still could happen. Jimmy Kumar, who's just commented there, he trains with PPW and Liam Slater, and there's a link there with so many great people. But it's confidence. So when I'm speaking with Shea Monet, for example, and I'm going to dive right into this because it's what it's all about. Like, I always seem to not have the confidence to be honest, and not honest. I mean direct, and he'll constantly say, "You're the promoter." And he reminds us regularly that it's my show. But then I think, I'm not where I was. I can be that person that is confident about it, but because everybody hated what they represented, well, let's be
Yeah.
honest, they don't hate CCW, they hate James Barris. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So for that, it just shatters your confidence. So booking a dream match, I would say, is hard, but I'd love to book Shea Monet versus Adam Bolt. That's my dream at this precise moment in time. However, I'd love Liam Slater to appear at a Wrestling with Pride show. It would make my day. I would suck red wine the night after that show and eat his umpteen blocks of cheese till I vomit all over the floor in celebration that I have got to a point where Liam Slater has wrestled on my show with Adam Bolt and Shea Monet. There we go. I could retire. In fact, if it happens this year, next year I'll just quit because I don't think I can get much better than that without I would never be able to afford. But with them comes a whole host of sort of advice, like Liam Slater. The advice he could give me would be it would be invaluable. And Shea Monet is one of those other people who has gave me so much sort of help with these conversations with us, and also Prince Pele. He's exactly the same. He's another person who obviously I've really clicked with in terms of advice and things like that. So yeah, that's it. They're the ones. If they're watching or they watch this, if they do find time in their busy schedules, call me.
All right. We're on the last leg of the questions here. 6 questions left, and we're going to dive a bit. We're going to go away from wrestling, dive a bit into the personal life, your passions, stuff like that. Because when you're not running shows or when you're not involved in wrestling, what do you like to do to unwind?
I like gardening. I write poems and songs.
I didn't know that.
Not many people, in fact, I don't think anybody really knows that apart from those who are very, very close to me. Would you like to hear a poem?
You know what? I really would, and I think everyone watching would as well.
Right, I'll get one of my poems. 2 seconds.
Oh, fantastic.
Actually, this was it's a poem, but it could be a song as well, I guess. Let's just find. It's called "I've Walked These Streets." So if there's anybody that screen records this and grabs the copyright for it, I'm going to start smashing faces. I've walked these streets 1,000 times, the glimmer of the River Tyne. I smell of the fair, I love this Newcastle air. Standing tall by the roadside, a welcome to the tune. Humming that old tune, all the lads and lasses and all the smiling faces. Let's go to tune, glug down some Newcastle brewing as the traffic zooms up and down. It's mighty fine, this city of mine. Oh, I love Newcastle upon Tyne. There you go.
I really like that.
So,
I really do.
I like to. I actually used to record music for MySpace.
Oh, wow.
And I used to be called the Acid Poet, and the guys behind that was the lyrics burn like acid. And I used to write a lot of songs. I played an acoustic guitar. I haven't played a guitar for years. In fact, my ex made us get rid of the guitar because I was constantly playing and I wasn't really spending much time with him. So yeah, I like that. I have 3 nephews that are my absolute world. Unfortunately, they've been dealt a really bad hand in life, and I'm saying a bad hand. You know, they lost their mum in 2021. They lost their dad in 2022. So they live between sort of my mum and their gran. It was a moment that sort of shook the foundations of everyone's life. So for me to be there for them, it's important, and I take pride in doing the things that sadly their mum and dad can't do, whether that be taking them fishing or sliding down the sand dunes on a bodyboard and nearly breaking me back. You know, it's giving them memories, and that's very important to me. And family time is important. I'm always busy. I'm never quiet. I'm never still. I never have a moment unless it's on an evening where I'm not racing around for somebody. Or I tell you what else I like to do as well. I like to steal people's rubbish. So do you know when you go through industrial estates and you see pallets and brick? I like to steal things.
My mother does that, and it drives me insane.
You know what it is, right? I've just planted some radishes in the garden, and they're planted in 3 green trays from the back of Iceland because they were there. So I'm a bit of a magpie when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. To be fair, I walk my dog. I walk my dog.
Well, that leads into our next question, and I hope you don't mind, but I did kind of steal a picture. Tell us about your beautiful dog, Delta. How did you come into your life?
Well, it's a funny story because just before, I think it was before lockdown, it would be 2019, I had another Great Dane called Ozzy. He was an all black Great Dane with white paws. Oh, there he is.
Evening, Dawn.
So I lost Ozzy in the July of that year, and I didn't have a dog from July to December. But interestingly enough, I got Ozzy on New Year's Day. That was when I picked him up from where he was. Anyway, it'll make sense in a minute. So, beginning of December, I get a message off a friend of mine called Jason who breeds and shows Great Danes at Crufts and the likes. She is, she fucking stinks sometimes, though. I'll come on to that, though, after my story. And she basically messaged me, said, Alan, listen, he said, there's a Great Dane who I think is ideal for you. She's been sold, obviously it was just before lockdown this, so it should been sold to a family in Edinburgh who'd also lost a Great Dane, and they went out and rushed and bought a puppy. Anyway, she hadn't bonded with the dog, and they wanted to send her back, so they sent her back to Andrew, the breeder, and he wanted her to have her own person. And I said, to be honest, I don't think I'm ready for a dog. Like, I don't think I'm ready. He was like, oh, that's fine. I'll send you some pictures, you know. And he sent us some little baby pictures of her, and then he sent us a few, and I was like, oh, she is really, really nice. However, a speckled Great Dane was never one I was interested in. So anyway, I think it was Christmas Eve. I was absolutely hammered on red wine. I think I drank 2 bottles of South Africa's finest red Zinfandel Sauvignon, and I was hammered. And I'd ate my body weight in cheese, and I was lying on the sofa like a mess. And I was looking through my phone, and I was obviously looking at these pictures of Delta, and I was going back and looking at pictures of Ozzy, and I was like, funny thing is, it's December when I got him, so I was a bit teary about it. Even now, you know, it upsets us because he was a companion and a half. I mean, he's nothing like her. He was a gentleman. She's just a thug. Like, there's no. So then I messaged Andrew and I said, "Can I call you?" So anyway, again, I was hammered, so I rang him and we were chatting. And drunkenly agreed to have this dog. And then I think it was over that period, I video called him a lot. Obviously, we chatted loads about the dogs, and he was, because Delta's brother's still with him. Sadly, our mum's not, but Echo is our brother. So I said, I'm not going to come and visit her. I'm going to come and get her, because I think if you go, I'm going to go and check her out. You're going to come home anyway with her, even if you don't like her. So I said I was going to come and get her. So that's the story. And she came to me 2021. It would have been at that point. And at the time I was a dog walker, so she had the walks of her life basically, and she used to do my job, run around with all the dogs. So it's just important because she came at a time I think I needed her, or I was going to need her, because on the days where bad things happen and I was sad and I was at the darkest point of my life, picking up that lead and going for a walk was the only thing that stopped me from tumbling into a place of no return. So I have to thank her for that. However, she's a thieving bitch, and she steals everything. Cheese scones, gammon, you know, she frigging sandwiches off the bench. She's even opened a tin of tuna without cutting herself and ate the tuna out, left it on the floor. She's just a beast. I love her, but she's a fucking beast. And I call her the hippo because she's forever rolling in the mud. She's always filthy. I've bathed her today. She'll be dirty by the end of tomorrow.
Did you call her Delta, or was that a name that she already had?
So the brother, she has 2 other brothers. There's Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo, C, D, and E. She kept Delta when she went away because the other person thought it was fitting. And basically, he said, "Oh, you can change your name if you want," but our pedigree name is an anagram of the breeders' names. A mom's pedigree name and her, so it's Lindrew, Mississippi Delta, and
Mhm.
I just think the Delta thing fits. And
Yeah.
to be fair, she gets called swear words more than she gets called Delta. I do call her
Oh,
Delts. She's Delts most of the time. So yeah, but no, I love the name, so I kept it.
um, last question regarding Delta. If Delta were a wrestler, what would that gimmick be?
Oh, should be like Brock Lesnar. Should be absolute beast. Like she's game for anything. Like my other dog was just a peaceful, gentle giant. She'd fight with it. I mean, she's not aggressive, but she's ready for a fight. If someone starts, she's like, "Come on, come on, come on." She'd be like Brock Lesnar.
Love it. um, right, we are jumping back to wrestling with pride and yourself, your wrestling journey. Uh, our penultimate question here: where do you see yourself and the promotion, Wrestling with Pride, in 5 years' time? Where would you like to see yourself?
Oh, I'd still like to be around. Um, I'd still like to be putting on shows, and I don't have aspirations to be better than anybody else. I don't have aspirations to be the best in the world. Um, I have aspirations to still be around, still stand for everything we stand for today, still have an amazing team supporting us. I'd still like to also be in a position where I have credibility and people are sort of people understand that I'm not no. I have credibility. I've lost zero. I haven't got a bad reputation. That I've done a good job, and I'd ultimately like to have um, a fan base that's regular, and I'd like to be on par with other Northeast promotions who are smashing out of the park. You've got Full Tilt Wrestling, you've got MEW, you've got North, you've got Prime, you've got Dropkick Championship Wrestling, you've got Imperial Wrestling Federation. Breakouts on a break at the moment, but they've put on some cracking shows. I'd like to say and be on par with them in terms of what we can put on display.
Nice. I like that answer. I'm curious about this last question. What's the one thing you have to pick just one thing that you hope people take away from your Wrestling with Pride shows?
Love.
Nice. I love that. Love. I do. I love that.
And I say that because in a world filled with such hatred and animosity, and you know that's why wrestling is a perfect platform for this, because people love wrestling.
Yeah.
The wrestling scene doesn't love each other, but if we can leave that room, whether it be my nephew Aiden, who's going to be doing the lights because he did quite a good job,
Did.
whether it be the referees, whether it be the talent, the bar staff, the fans, the merch people, the people who accompany the wrestlers, if they can leave that room and think, "What a lovely environment that was," or "God, that was," I love that, the love word. If somebody can say to me, "I love the show," and they can leave not thinking about rainbows and not thinking about celebrating of pride, but if they can leave the room with a little bit of love in their heart, I'd be happy.
I'm absolutely positive they will as well. You do such a fantastic job. You're extremely dedicated, extremely proud. uh, that is the last of my questions. So the only thing left for me to do, Taylor, is say the floor is yours. You say whatever you want to our audience, those who are watching live, those who are going to come back to watch this. Off you go.
So, obviously, it's been a long road for me in wrestling. It's had its high points and its low points. I have had, the opportunity to work with some absolutely amazing people, and I've met some of the most admirable people. I'll never meet people like this. I'm forever grateful for the opportunities I was given. I'm forever grateful for the friendships that I've made, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on and name a few names and give a little bit of, if I have the opportunity to do
Of course.
that. So I want to start with somebody who I met very, very early days, who has been an ultimate rock for me. A lot of these people will have, and I don't take anything away they've done for us, but Colin McGregor, who's Colin Barker, who is the Dropkick Championship Wrestling sort of head honcho, big cheese. He is one of the people who, when you think of a moment and then you think of a person and then you know that person's important to you. Colin is one of those people. I have laughed with Colin. I've cried with Colin. He's always gave us sterling advice. He's never been sort of a type of person that would pressure us to make a decision. He would always tell us to sleep on it. And he supported me through times that I can only say have been the hardest moments of my life. And as an example, I was at the RVI the night I lost my brother, and the first person I called was Colin, purely because my dad had already passed away at this point, so I couldn't call him. And I rang Colin, and Colin was at an Arcadian show, and he was spoke, and I always think back to that conversation, and the words that Colin used to really bring us down to earth will stay with us forever. I'll then move on to Davy Dudes, one of the first people I ever met from wrestling in person.
Yeah,
And we
it's
had
lovely.
a liberating conversation driving from Gateshead to see him. We basically chatted about everything you can imagine, politics. Davey has had a rough run in life. I'm not going to go into that, his business. He told me a lot of truthful things about his personality that I respect him for. I came out to him. I told him I was gay, and he was very much an open book, and we've always got on. We've had so many good memories, and as much as he can do me head in, and he's always having a tab. Like, I legitimately love him a bit. I then want to go on and talk about Damien Stone. Again, been on the wrestling journey with him from the beginning. We've had such an awesome time. Always makes me laugh with these dulcet tones and these one-liners that he doesn't think are funny until he's cracked them, and then they're hilarious. We've had some great road trips together, driving back and from shows. We've had some laughs, and he's just a consistent guy to be around. He's a workhorse. He's forever busy, and I commend him massively for it. Andrew Redfield, King of King. Again, he's literally one of the most honest people you'll ever meet. If you're ever frightened of the truth, don't ever have a personal conversation, because Andy will, from the best possible way, and he'll give you it 100% truthful, and I love him for it. He's been there for me through thick and thin. He really has. I want to thank Lee Hartley. Make a mention for the training he's gave us. Also, the memories we've had. We've worked alongside each other in many things. Absolutely fantastic. Liam Belshaw wrestles as Kendall, Reform Wrestling. Check them out. A constant in my life. He's always messaged, kept up to date with us, and we still haven't met up for a beer yet. We've been so busy, but he's just an amazing individual, and a lot of what I'm doing is thanks to people like Liam. So I thank him greatly. James Barris. I want to thank James Barrett for the opportunities he gave us. I also think that it's sad how things have turned out between me and him. I didn't think in a million years that would be in this position, but it wasn't fun for me there, and I had to do what I had to do. But I am 100% grateful for not only the wrestling opportunities he gave me, but for the support he gave me. Because at the time of losing people, James was a solid rock for me through those times. And I know not everybody wants to hear that, but I'll say it as it is. And he was. In times where I needed him, he was there, and I'm forever grateful for that. John McEwen, absolute pillar.
Nice.
And what can I say? John's just always been in the background. He drifts to and from sometimes, but he's just got a heart of gold.
I think that man's done more for people than he realizes he's done for people.
I don't think he realizes what he does half the time, but I just want him to know that I ultimately respect him to the highest order. I'd even put him in line of being like a brother, because we have that sort of,
Would you even go so far as to say Brev?
No, I wouldn't say Brev. Fucking, I said DJ Brev before. That's all the fucking Brev you're getting out of me. I want to make so Jamie and Cy. So that's Ronnie and Don Bronson. That's his wife and Misha. So this family have done so much for my family that I'm forever grateful to them, because they had never met my family and they were always supporting them. They never miss a Christmas. And it's not about what they get from them. It's the fact that these people have spent so much time and effort to make sure that we're fine. We've never done without anything with people like that in my life, and it's humbling. And I just want them to know that we are family. There's no two ways about it. I love them dearly, and they've been there for me through so much, and there's no words can define how grateful I am. There's so many other people, and I apologize if I've missed anybody, but you are all, if you're all present in my life at this time, that you're important. I want to finish up on the Wrestling with Pride team, and I just want to say that I'll never make you feel the way I've seen other wrestlers feel. I'll never treat you in a way that's unfair. We might not always agree. And I just want you all to know that I'm extremely lucky to have you all. The likes of Aisha Raymond, Ewan G. Mackey, Pride, Pele, Monet, sounds like a song. They're all so important. And one of my favourite moments, two moments of mine, and I'll finish up on this before I go on all fucking night. Crowning Pride and Ewan champions under my reign as general manager for Coming Out Championship Wrestling, and surprising Cora Moon with her title.
That reaction
were three of my moments I'm proud of. But I'll leave it on this note. Be who you want to be, live how you want to live, love who you want to love. And the Wrestling with Pride gimmick and catchphrase, and it's going to be everywhere this time next year, I'm hoping. We stand with pride, we walk with pride, and we will wrestle with pride. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, I have been the Smoothtalker in the Deerstalker, Taylor. And I am very, very honoured to have been on this show and to be able to chat with you all. for an hour and 21 minutes.
Yeah.
But it has been such a good opportunity for me. And you might not like everything that you've heard, but I couldn't really give a fuck.
It's been an absolute honor to have you on here. And if you want to see more of Taylor, you can catch him at Wrestling with Pride's first show. The Bash and Bike. What date was that again? Sorry.
17th of May.
17th of May. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Please get yourself along there.
We've got for everybody.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. Thank you so much for coming on here tonight and joining me. Especially, I know some of these questions got really, really personal. So thank you for answering them at the best of your ability. And I would love if one day down the line we could do another one of these and see if anything's changed, see if anything's new. I'd love that. Maybe a year or so after Wrestling with Pride has been around, we can go through that. And you never know. But for now, like he said, that's been Taylor, the Smoothtalker and the Deerstalker. I have been DJB, your king of media. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, folks. And I will see you, I believe. Oh yeah, Friday. Don't miss it for You've Been Strange.
Hey, you're a busy lad, aren't you, lad?
I'm a very busy lad. Until then, folks, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Good night.